evening. After weeks of criticism from victims of child abuse, the woman chosen to chair the inquiry into historical abuse has resigned. Fiona Woolf was repeatedly criticised over her lack of experience in the field and over her links to the former Home Secretary Lord Britton, who's likely to be a witness to the inquiry. She's the second chair to stand down after pressure from victims, following the resignation of Lady Butler-Sloss in the summer. Speaking to the BBC, Fiona Woolf said she couldn't lead the inquiry if the victims had no confidence in her. Here's our Home Affairs correspondent, Tom Simons.
Fiona Woolf was the ceremonial figurehead of the City of London, but she'd agreed to take on a dark and daunting task, uncovering the history of child abuse in Britain. Now she's gone before she's even started. Why? In an interview with BBC 5 Live, she said, "It's about the victims."
I was determined that the inquiry got to the bottom of the issues for them, and if I don't command their confidence to run the panel fairly and impartially, then I need to get out of the way.
Weeks of pressure peaked this lunchtime when representatives of those who've been abused emerged from a tense meeting with the officials who were to run her inquiry and sealed her fate.
We are unanimous in our feeling that Fiona Woolf cannot remain as chair. It would be a dead duck in the water as far as we're concerned if Mrs. Woolf remained.
Watching that, Fiona Woolf says she knew she had to go. The turmoil began just a day after her appointment. It became clear she knew Lord Britton, a potential conflict of interest because he was the Home Secretary who received files about child abuse in the 1980s, which subsequently went missing. She tried to explain dinners she'd had with Lord Britton in a letter to the Home Secretary. Version 1, never published, said, "From my recollection, there were no other guests." But Home Office officials rewrote the final version made public to say, "From my recollection, there were at least 4 guests." Not quite so intimate. Critics said the rewrite looked like she'd colluded with the government. And survivors of abuse were furious when, in front of MPs, she called them the victim community. They said it made them feel like lepers.
I've clearly destroyed their confidence in the inquiry with me leading it. And these are the last people I had wanted to upset.
Fiona Woolf has done the honourable thing. She's stepped aside. I think that's very important. This investigation is far too important to have somebody leading it who doesn't have the trust and confidence of the people who are at the heart of the investigation, which are the victims and the survivors themselves. So she's done the right thing, absolutely.
So what now? The Home Secretary Theresa May said the inquiry panel based in this Westminster Tower will hold the fort while a new chairman is found. For the Chancellor, it's not just about one person.
Well, this isn't about personalities. This is about getting to the truth of what happened, about the horrendous child abuse that took place and the lessons we need to learn. And that's why we have an independent panel in charge of this process.
At the heart of this row is a feeling among those who call themselves survivors that this inquiry will not get to grips with what they believe has been a massive cover-up of child abuse. They are worried that while it might learn some lessons from what's gone on, it will not bring them justice. The inquiry will consider abuse carried out behind closed doors in a wide range of British institutions. Those who suffered increasingly believe only a senior judge can lead it. Tom Simons, BBC News, Westminster.
Well, we can speak now to John Pienaar, who's at Westminster for us this evening. And John, a second chair forced out. Where on earth does this leave the government's plans?
It looks like a mess, and it is. It is a mess. It is a headache for the government, for the Home Office, for the Home Secretary Theresa May. Remember, Fiona Woolf wasn't forced out by some new revelation, skeleton in the closet. It's the drip accumulation of doubts and questions over her suitability to do the job. Doubts about her impartiality being voiced almost daily. And now the Home Secretary Theresa May has to find a third candidate who will be, they at the Home Office will hope, beyond question, beyond reproach, and that will be a hard job to finish off. The person will have to be questioned by a committee of MPs over at the House. There'll be a confirmation hearing. That much has become clear this afternoon. And that's just the beginning. They'll have to contain the expectations of the numberless victims of historic abuse over the years. That won't be easy. And when you get to the final report, well, there's a big audience of people who'll be waiting sceptically to read whatever is finally produced. Whoever gets this job, I think they will need to have an awful lot of confidence, an awful lot of competence, and I think an awful lot of courage. And in all likelihood, before this thing is over, I think they'll have to draw on mounds of all three.
John, thank you.